My name is Dorian T. Fisk. That's a stage name. Out of drag, I also go by Dorian. The full stage name, Dorian T. Fisk. There's a bit of a story behind that. Another woman in my life, her assessment of my personality was likening me at the time to the character in Finding Nemo called Dory the Fish. So Dorian T. Fisk is kind of a play on words with that. And Fisk is an old family name from generations back. And the initials DTF apparently mean something else as well to certain people. Didn't know that at the time, I swear. I'm in my 7th year of doing drag now, I believe. I got my start in China, of all places, and I've been doing drag in Scotland for about half that time as well. Dorian T. Fisk is quite a chameleon, I would say. At that point in my life was coming to the end of a kind of relationship that was not good for many reasons, and so I kind of left that relationship and found drag in a nutshell. And I learned a few pole tricks. I needed a gimmick, so I learned a few strength-based pole tricks because I ain't very flexible. I decided to become a drag king after seeing an American drag king in Shanghai. They were the first drag king I'd seen, and I'd gone to a queer event and they were hosting. And shortly afterwards I was in a chat group with them, and they put a call out for people to help them with arranging a talent contest for Shanghai Pride that year, and I had a background in events, so I thought, intriguing. When I saw the amount of talent that was going to be gracing the stage, that I should actually probably myself put in a bit of effort, and came up with a character that was a backstage roadie type dude. Always tidying up. Hey, are you videoing?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the Pearl, well, the backstage. That's where the magic happens, or at least where a lot. And I created Dorian T. Fisk to help out backstage. And that's how he was born, and he really didn't do much besides stage manage events for a good 6 months. Stuff I normally do involves like shifting mic stands and opening curtains, really tough stuff. After several shows, I was gently cajoled into putting something together for one of their shows that was happening on a Thursday night, like a scratch night, so it was low pressure. So I put an act together, and that was my debut. Initially, Dorian was very much portraying the types of characters that were easily recognizable as stereotypical masculine or hyper-masculine characters, from the construction worker and cowboy to the vampire, to the vampire cowboy, and any other kind of mix and match versions of that I could come up with. In recent years, I've taken Dorian in other directions where I've explored a bit more creative character development. So he now can appear as known characters such as Scrooge at Christmas, or, gay rights Jesus. He's due for a resurrection anytime soon. Asking for holy water.
Water, just the water, right? Yes, drink water.
Yes, it's gay water. So I ended up staying in Shanghai for so long just because it was the land of opportunity. And to be honest, anything was possible if you put your mind to it. You basically just needed to have an idea, find the right things to sort of make that happen. And the people were there, people from all over the world were there, and you could make some amazing projects come to life.
I was already betting on him. You can have, we have a camera. I'll give you 1 to 5.
There were queer bars that were out in the open, but at the same token, you had to be really kind of conscious of at any moment you could get raided. So there was a kind of undercurrent of, you always had to be conscious of that. And in fact, some of the bars did get raided all of a sudden. So, the same with drag and things like that. You could be out and about and be, let's say, openly fabulous. But as long as you weren't being too contrary to, I guess, the party line, and you were tolerated, let's put it that way. It never was something illegal to be queer in China. It was, just not given that many rights. And so, unfortunately, these days, Shanghai Pride no longer happens. It got too big and therefore too much of a noise around being queer, and they ended up getting shut down. Never really pushed too hard. Just would make sure that I was with my chosen family and went to places where I knew they were queer friendly. And yeah, so as a queer person and a drag performer in Shanghai, it was definitely accepted because I chose to be around people that I knew would be accepting. Shut Up and King is primarily a platform, and it was something that I started under lockdown. As a drag performer, the reality of we'd lost all our opportunity to perform, and things were sort of shifting to digital drag, and we built on that and designed a 4-week program that was a zero to drag king in 4 weeks with this other king in Edinburgh. Through the workshops, I was able to get different drag kings from places around Scotland to facilitate and run those on various topics, from like character makeup to prosthetics to the basics of drag kinging, and then specialist skills. We've done workshops on all different kinds of things, even down to like social media savvy, and when we were doing a lot of digital drag performances, helping people work out how they could kind of do that with a lot of the free apps and things like that. And it's just built over the 2 and a bit years since, with, I don't know how many more kings are in the scene now, but it's at least tripled. I like to think we've had a heavy influence, because the more kings you see on stage, of course, representation, you have others coming up when they can kind of see that there's an opportunity there to be creative in that way. Pop-Up and Drag is at Glasgow's famous Barras Market. I was here every now and then, just walking around trying to find pieces for my own costumes, and the pride flag appeared one of the times I was here. I said we should make this entire street completely queer. I got in touch with the people that run the Barras and said, if there's anything that comes up on this street, do let me know. And it was this space. I kind of spontaneously said yes, and then figured out, right, now what can we put in here? There are specific things for drag performers. You are in fact very close to our Tower of Dicks there that just arrived today. This is a place where anybody can find a really fabulous item of clothing. It was a space for that, be a window for the community on the Scottish drag scene, hence why there's a Scottish drag wall of fame up there behind me. The idea was always to sort of serve the wider Scottish drag community as a whole. There was a new Edinburgh Drag King show recently called Bro Code, and I went to support that because the two hosts and producers of that are Drag Spawn.
Welcome to the Bro Code family. Now, we all know here that masculinity is in crisis. due to modern ideologies like feminism, polyamory, and consent.
Definitely went to go and give them some support when they launched their show, although frankly they didn't really need it, they slayed. For the upcoming Bro Code event, I'm going to bring one of my most iconic looks, and if you were to say Google Drag King Scotland, the chances are you would see my frosty mug, and it's the Jack Frost look that I am known for. When I perform, it can be anything from something that is a bit of irreverent and comedic. I like to have a story. There's certainly something in terms of different layers of meaning. Something can be quite obvious, but there'll be a subliminal or a more subtle message as well involved. In a show where there are other drag kings, it's incredible because it's not a very frequent thing. There are some shows, one or two shows that come to mind here in Scotland where the producers are actively making sure that they'll have a king, at least one, in every show lineup. Lots of drag characters that I do, the differences between them are in the face. Obviously costumes change, but sometimes you can have the same drag makeup on. But for me, the characterization differences are quite distinct. So in a show, for example, I can often be doing 2 numbers and have to do a complete makeup, take off and redo. And that's just the way I've got myself into a situation where I have given myself lots of stress at shows mostly. Get into character the moment I put the packer in. So as soon as the packer goes in, Dorian is in the room. There's some where I do a lot of burlesque edged drag, so we have dragalesque or queerlesque as a terminology I would sometimes use to describe some of my acts. So I'll have acts where it's just a straight homoerotic striptease to make the straight boys squirm.
Oh, what's that? Oh, you don't think that people in a relationship should support and uplift each other? Bunch of lesbians, get out of here, get back to watching Elma Generation Q!
Since doing drag, there have been a few things that I've learned about myself. It initially started as a way for me just to kind of play and express a masculine side of my personality. I would say throughout, and I don't know if, and I'm sure in fact that I'm not the only case here as a drag performer, as you perform more and more, you discover more and more about yourself. So throughout the years of me doing drag to now, I look back and I think, okay, I am a completely different person. And my gender identity has shifted a little bit since doing drag. So I guess it wasn't necessarily a surprise, but it's kind of a thing that has crept up as you evolve as a performer. So for me now, I would probably be more comfortable in a gender neutral kind of identity. I started more identifying as someone who was gender fluid, but I definitely feel I've become much more settled within a kind of non-binary type sort of gender identity than anything else these days, and I feel like that's because of having done drag over the years. There is so much of my life that is intertwined and revolves around drag now in many facets, not just my own performance. So it's my community, it's my legacy, it's everything, and it's gone way beyond just being a way for me to express my masculine side every now and then. It is my art and my passion and my joy. In terms of the future of drag as a whole, my only hope really is that it becomes, in terms of a level of mainstream recognition, it becomes much more inclusive and diverse level of representation in the eyes of those that are really just getting an introduction to drag these days through the TV.
There will come a time when I will be too old. However, one good thing about being a king and the patriarchy is that men get hotter as they get older. So there's a whole slew of silver fox drag characters that I'm going to be doing well into my 70s. As long as I don't get the stupid idea to try to attempt death drop and actually die. You will see me on the drag stage for many more years to come.